Hello and welcome to the Severe MMA UFC Fight Night Font versus Aldo preview. I'm delighted to be joined to you today to talk about a massive fight card, I think, in Las Vegas tomorrow night. I'm joined today by the Dream Team, Seán Sheehan, Andy Stevenson, and Sean Denny. But before we get into tomorrow night's fights, I just want to introduce you to our sponsors for this stream, and that is Eat All Real Nutrition Bars, the best protein bars on the market right now, an Irish-run company by our good friend Niall Harty. Head on over there to eatallreal.com, enter the code word Severe MMA, get yourself 15% off, and enjoy those bars. I know the guys have been trying them over on the Twitter group, and they're saying that they're delicious, a wide variety of flavors and all that stuff there. So head on over to eatallreal.com and check out that website there and enter the code word Severe MMA. How are you going, lads? We had a week off of MMA, and I'm busting at the seams to talk about some fights, and I'm delighted that you're able to join me today. How is everybody doing today?
I'm well anyway. I don't think Andy's the best, but sure, we'll survive.
Look, I'm holding I'm putting the team on my back. I'm battling through COVID, but I'm here.
Fair play to you. How are you, Sean Denny?
Not too bad at all. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, good man.
I had an ear infection though as well. In fairness, if anyone wants to send prayers my way or anything, it's
You're going one up on me now.
Don't be trying to one up.
it's very bad. I had to get through. Fucking Sergio Pettis must have thought I was dying when I was talking to him the other day. I was like, "All right, Sergio, thanks. Good luck, bye." After about 5 minutes.
It's a poor El Sean Denny's not allowed back in Ireland.
You're not stuck outside here.
Oh, I might never be back at this race.
You'll be happy enough with it, would you? Fuck 'em.
They might keep me here. They might keep me.
You're better suited over there anyway. That's just a fucking hole of a place.
If anyone is listening there now, don't hesitate to leave a comment, ask a question, share your opinions, whatnot. I leave it to you guys. What do we want to do? Do we want to break it from the top down or from the bottom up, guys?
What's on the bottom? Let's just look at the big fights, I think.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fluff in it. What is it, 15 fights?
There's 15 fights here. There's a couple of good fights on the undercard, but I think I prefer start from the top as well. And we have the luxury of enjoying Jose Aldo getting in there again. He's taken on Rob Font in the main event in the bantamweight division. Jose Aldo didn't have the best of starts in the bantamweight division. I know I mentioned in my preview that I was quite skeptical of his move to bantamweight. I didn't think it was going to be great for him, and it was a slow start, but he slowly found his way at the division. And did you notice any great changes? We'll go to Andy Stevenson first. Did you notice any great changes from his first couple of fights at bantamweight division in comparison to maybe his last couple of fights, Andy?
I think that as far as Jose moving down to 135, my biggest concern was, would he be able to hang as far as the pace went? It's a young man's game as the divisions go lighter. And Jose, well, he's only 35 still, which is crazy to think. But I wasn't sure if he'd be able to keep up with the pace. And I think he's proven that he can. I think that the Vera and the Munoz fights, he's looked great. And I think I'm actually fancying him to get the job done here on tomorrow night against Rob Font. I think that I just think that Jose Aldo was kind of written off for a long time as he's done, when there was nothing to prove that. When you look at the lads he's lost against, it's all been big fights against top tier, top caliber fighters, and I just think that I think he's sitting nicely in 135. I think he's fighting well, and I would be confident enough to pick him tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's going to be a close fight. I'm kind of on the fence myself, and I don't really know. After watching back a couple of Rob Font's fights, I'd be worried if Aldo is not able to come in here and implement his game plan and get off a couple of his shots. I think he might struggle. I know, Sean, that you have been talking, Seán Sheehan, I know that you have been talking about Rob Font's boxing, and you feel that coming in against Jose Aldo, that's probably going to be his best asset coming into this fight, and you think that Aldo might kind of struggle a little bit with his speed and accuracy.
Yeah, I think that'll be the biggest issue for him. As Andy alluded to there, coming down to 135, the speed is going to be the thing. But I kind of talked myself into the other day when I was doing about fucking 5 previews for every card now, so I taught myself into different things at different times. But like, remember when Aldo came into the UFC? Like, the issue for Aldo was cardio, and everyone talked about, like, in the 5th round against Hominick and everything, that he couldn't keep up that pace, and that's going to be an issue for him. And then that issue went away. But you know what also went away at the same time? The leg kicks. And everyone's like, oh, where are the leg kicks gone? Where are they gone? And like, we never put those 2 and 2 things together, maybe, that the cardio improved when the leg kicks kind of went away. And now it isn't a complete fucking correlation there. You know, what's that phrase? Correlation is not causation, or whatever it is. But the fact that he's moved back down to 135 has had to up the pace to meet those 135ers. Now the cardio issues have come back again. Like, that, you can't deny that, I don't think. And now when I talk about cardio issues, when you're fighting someone like a Petr Yan, or even like, say, even Holloway when he was back up at 145, who is, fights like a fucking 125er in terms of output, you're going to have to meet that output and fight fire with fire, or even defend his fire at a higher pace than you would normally be fighting. So I think that is an issue for Aldo, that if you look at his whole career, you can pick it out. I think if you only look at portions of his career, you maybe can't. And I'm sure Font's team have looked at that and kind of picked that out and say, like, if he puts on a high boxing pace, that I think Jose Aldo could struggle with it. One of my bets is for Font to win in the 5th round this week. But I think Aldo will struggle later, maybe. But I could see him winning a couple of rounds early. I don't think that Font is gonna destroy him or anything like that. I don't think this is going to be Jose Aldo getting picked apart. I think this could be a very, very close fight for 3 rounds, with the 4th and the 5th maybe Font pulling away and winning them. But it's a really fun fight. Like, it's one of those fights where you can talk about the technical aspect, and I think it'll be very close, but then maybe the other aspects, like the cardio and like different things like that, are something that could be the defining part of how this fight actually goes. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it should be a very, very fun one.
Yeah, it's a valid point there, because I mean, when you're talking about Rob Font, he's a fighter that grows into fights, whereas Aldo is kind of grows into fights as well. And I always thought Aldo's best rounds were his rounds 2 and rounds 3 in fights, where he really puts on the pressure. Sean mentioned the leg kicks for Jose Aldo here. I do feel that Aldo will have to get off some leg kicks in this fight. Cody Garbrandt had some minor success, but he couldn't maintain it in his fight against Rob Font. Sean, Denny, do you think Aldo is going to come in here and leg kick? And you think that would be a good idea, maybe to stop some of the footwork and take some of the pop from the punches from Rob Font?
I think it'd be a good idea. However, like, I think we've been waiting for Aldo to go back to those leg kicks for years, and he just never has. Like, over a 5-round fight, if your game plan is leg kicks, like, you're taking a lot of damage out of your own legs when you're doing that. So it is a sacrifice you're going to have to make. Usually when you see people have success, you see them sort of maybe 3rd round, it's definitely going to drop off. And they very rarely keep it up for 4 or 5 rounds. So I think that's probably been Aldo's problem. Like, he uses them sparingly, and as you say, they take a bit of energy to just keep kicking away. So that would be why I don't think Aldo's going to have a heavy leg kick game, because it'll take so much out of him that I don't think he will. I was sort of hoping that we'd see 3-round Aldo for a while, but in a 5-round, he's going to have to pick his moments. He needs to decide. It's sort of like a 1,000 meters. He needs to choose when he's going to sprint. And I think in the 5-round fights, he struggled to do that to date in the last couple of years anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. Like, I think you made a couple of good valid points. Looking at Rob Font coming in here, Andy, what are you thinking that he's going to have to do to kind of impose his will in this fight? He's coming in here against, Rob Font made his debut maybe in 2010. At that same time, Jose Aldo was kicking the legs off of Uriah Faber in the UFC and was a massive big champion there. You think when Rob Font gets in there and do you think that the challenge might be a little bit overbearing for him? Do you think he's ready for this kind of a challenge right now? What's your thoughts on that? And how do you think, what's his best route to victory in this fight?
Yeah, like I don't think the occasion is going to get him by any means. If that's the question, like I think Rob Font, like his last 4 fights, have watched Sergio Pettis, Ricky Simon, Marlon Moraes, and Cody Garbrandt, and they're not like massive names or household names in the sport, but they're very, very solid fighters and very, very stern tests. And he's come through them all. I think that we'll probably see Rob Font, on his bike a bit, and I don't mean that as far as evading or anything like that, but I think he'll strike from the outside. Generally, like, Jose Aldo, in my opinion, does his best work when he's able to plant and when he's able to unload from the center of the cage. And I think Rob Font will kind of pick his shots from the outside. What I would be wary of would be he comes in a lot of times with a very high guard, and we've all seen what Jose Aldo can do, especially again in recent years. While his leg kicks may be less frequent than in previous years, his body shots are phenomenal, and I think if Rob Font comes in with a high guard and leaves himself exposed, that's where he could be in a little bit of danger. So if he can just pick his shots and try and get Jose Aldo off of his footwork or things like that, then I think that could be an avenue to success here for him.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, we've seen Jose Aldo before coming in with some nasty body shots with people who do hold that high boxing guard. So it's definitely something that Rob Font does, and it's something that Jose Aldo can utilize. Before we won't spend too much longer on this. Before we go, I'll just go over to you, Seán Sheehan. Cody Garbrandt early on in Rob Font's fight had success in putting down Rob Font on his back. You think that might be an option for Jose Aldo here? It's not something that we see from him too often.
Yeah, it seems like every fight when Aldo's fighting, we talk about his takedowns and his wrestling being an option, but he never really does it, does he? Sometimes maybe to his detriment. Every time, you talk to anyone smart about MMA when they, and they discuss, the tactics of the fight, everyone always says throw in a takedown, throw in a takedown just to change things up. If it's to get someone off their game, if it's to stop them throwing that hook or that jab or that straight right or whatever it might be, it's a good way to go. But Aldo doesn't really seem to do it. And I feel like that, I talked the other day about the kind of the stability of Aldo's style and how good it's been for such a long period. But the fact that he kind of has taken parts away, I think, to make it maybe a little bit more safe or a little bit more secure, which he's been right, so you can't deny it. But they've also taken away a little bit of that variance that you're kind of talking about there, and it's a chance doing that. It absolutely is, but I think it might pay off for him if he was to do it. Variation, I always say on the podcast and everything like that, if you look at the best fighters in the world, they have variation. Like, look at someone like John Jones. He has takedowns. He can fight from the outside, fight from the inside. He can fight in the clinch. He has submissions. Look at Demetrius Johnson and every fighter. They can do it in all different ways. Ken is there in the comments, mentioned the body shots as well, as Andy mentioned. They're like, I feel like I was just looking up their size there, because it's funny with Aldo, sometimes you don't realize when he goes down to 135, you think he'd be much bigger, but he's an inch smaller than Rob Font. So they're pretty much the same size. You can never trust those. And I feel like body shots sometimes, they're one of those shots where we see him. And I think was it the Blaine O'Driscoll Mokaev fight where he comes in and he threw like one body shot, it was very good, and in the second one he kind of got caught by it because the opponent saw him coming. If they work, they're great, but if they don't work, they can be red sometimes, unless you're DC and you're absolutely useless and you take about 500 of them in a row. But like, I do think the body shots can be the win in a fight, but I also think against a good boxer like Rob Font, I think that can be an issue. But as I said, if he finds a way to land them safely and, at the right times, I do think that can be a good thing as well. But as you said, the wrestling, I don't think he will wrestle, but I think he probably should, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely a thing that he should be doing to kind of just switch it up a little bit. And just before we finish up on this, Seán Sheehan, what would your prediction for this fight be?
Uh, I've given one of my bets Font late, but I don't know. I don't know. It's one of those ones I really haven't thought about, like who I think will actually win. I've thought about it more in like the betting way because of that. But look, this is how I think it'll go. I think, as you mentioned, Aldo comes on strong in the second and third. I think it'll be a very close round. I think either person could win it. I think maybe Aldo will come on a little bit better in the second. I think it'll probably be a close third as well. And I think Font will win it late. But it's hard to know as well. Like, Font hasn't fought someone as good as Aldo. I'm thinking Font will win late. But, like, what if he isn't as good as Aldo? And what if Aldo is the one, taking the initiative and winning that fight late? Yeah, I think it'll probably be a decision with Font winning it. But would I be surprised at all if Aldo won the decision? No. He's absolutely brilliant. I don't know. The more I think of it, I feel actually weird picking Font. I don't like, if this was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, there's no way in the world that I would pick this Font over that Aldo. And I still think that Aldo is very good. But my one thing about Aldo at the moment is, I just don't think he should be in these fights. Like, he is still right up there, and he's still a very, very good fighter. But I feel like he should have moved past that stage of his career now. And it's funny because I did a podcast about this the other day, about him not having to move past that stage of his career because he's still so good. But yeah, I don't know. It just feels like an odd fight for Aldo.
It's kind of like, I don't know how to feel like with Aldo winning, because with a win, what's next for him? You're talking about the elite level guys that's going to be coming in next for him. And, we saw what happened against Peter Yan, and I don't want to see Aldo getting thrown in and getting absolutely smashed against any of the elite fighters. We don't know how much of an elite fighter Rob Font is, but we're going to find out that tomorrow night and see how far along he's coming.
Yan is the only one who's really going to smash him, though, I think. Like, I don't think any of the other, like, I don't.
Would you reckon TJ Dillashaw?
No, I'd pick TJ to win that fight, but I don't think TJ has that violent streak that Yan has. That will, Sean Denny will tell you about that there. But I just don't think he has that. Like, Yan is out on his own in the top of that division. I think it'll be a close fight. I'd definitely pick TJ to win. I think TJ probably win maybe 5-0 or something like that. But maybe not that much. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see anyone as violent in terms of violence against Aldo at the top of the division as Yan is.
What's your thoughts on how this fight is going to go, Andy Stevenson?
Yeah, I mean, I know I kind of gave my pick for Aldo there. I completely forgot it was 5 rounds, if I'm honest with you. I've just I feel like I got the last couple of fights, I'm kind of used to seeing Aldo fight 3 rounds, but maybe it's my heart speaking, but I think Jose Aldo can get the win. Like, I think so often you kind of overlook him, or people overlook him these days, and I just think he's so talented still, and I think his striking is phenomenal, and I think that he's a better fighter than Rob Font. But it's a case of, you have a young guy coming up and you have an older guy, and you're kind of thinking, right, the young guy will probably win, but Font
is 34 and Aldo is 35, so there's not too much
Font's
difference.
34.
Yeah, he's tipping on now, so the two of them are.
Didn't know that. Shows my knowledge.
Font debuted in the UFC at 175. Which I think was.
He's been around a long time, yeah. But I was surprised at his age as well, Andy. I mean, because he's old, but he hasn't been around all that long or fought as much as Aldo. But yeah, what are you thinking on the result of this fight, Sean? Denny?
If Aldo times it right, I think it'll be 3 rounds to 2. If he doesn't, like, Font is Massachusetts tough, which goes a long way in MMA. So he's not going to go anywhere. He's built to last. So if Aldo times it right, I think he'll win it 3 rounds to 2. But if he mistimes it, if he takes a sprint too early, I could see Font winning the last 3 rounds.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and I kind of have the same opinion myself. I can see this fight going late, either being stopped late or probably going to decision. And I really think in this fight that rounds 2 and rounds 3 and rounds 4 are going to be pivotal in the winning of this fight, and who gets the better of each other, who's kind of riding on a bit of momentum through those rounds. So we won't spend too much longer on that fight, and it's a great fight, and I can't wait to see that fight. But we'll move on down to the co-main event, and we have Brad Riddell against Raphael Fizzyev, and I mean, this fight is going to be an absolute banger, so it is, and I can't wait to see. Like, these two guys just throw heat all the time, and I think it's just an excellent matchup between two really good prospects. On two of them are on really long, good winning streaks now as well. So, we'll go to Andy Stevenson first. Are you looking forward to this one, Andy?
Yeah, it's just an absolutely cracking fight, like, isn't it? Like, I can't see this fight going the distance whatsoever. Raphael Fizzyev is just an absolute killer. Like, when I watch him fight, I think about Piotr Jan, and I guess it kind of speaks to the fact that they're both coached by John Hutchinson, an Irishman over in Tiger Muay Thai, and like, when I watch them throw shots, it's like they've so much momentum behind their shots because they're throwing their entire bodies behind them. And like, when I watch Fizzyev fight, his ability to generate power while changing direction is incredible. But he gets hit, and I don't know, like, Fizzyev I see as this like absolute killer, but like, when you look across and you see Brad Riddell, like, he's an incredible kickboxer. Had a very successful, I think, K1 and Muay Thai. Like, I remember seeing a video of him knocking out John Wayne Parr and stuff like this. And obviously working in city kickboxing. I don't know who's going to win this fight, but I'm very, very excited for it, and I think it's going to be an absolute barn burner.
I mean, the striking credentials that Brad Riddell brings into here, working with the likes of Hooker, Adesanya, and all those guys at City Kickboxing, will make this fight really, really entertaining. How do you see this fight going down, Seán Sheehan?
I don't know, to be honest. I think it's going to be very, very close. You know, it's probably one that I need to probably spend a lot of time looking at their past fights to break it down, to have a great idea of it. It's kind of one of those, like, I looked at it and I was like, let me just wait until Saturday and enjoy this, you know. It is one of, I find it very hard to pick against Fizzyev, though. I think he's one of the best prospects in the world. I think he's fantastic. Look, I've been impressed by Riddell as well. There's no doubt about it, but not on the levels of Fizzyev, I don't think. I just think his power. Now, it was his last fight against Bobby Green, wasn't it? Where he got tired in the third round.
It was. And that win was a good win now, considering what Bobby Green went out and did against Ala Yaquinta.
You know, Bobby Green's always a good win, but when you show, like Aldo, you know, against Mark Hominick back in the day, when you show that, he got tired in the third round, what's he going to do? What's he going to look like over 5 rounds? Because, like, the thing about Fizzyev, and I know this is 3 rounds, but come with me here for a second. You look at Fizzyev, right, and you see the pace he puts on with the kicks to the body, and you're thinking, how can he bring that to the next level? How can he bring that to 3-round fights against someone as good as Riddell, or as, you know, let's say he's fighting Dariush or Poirier in the future, or whatever it might be, to bring it to very good 3-round fights, but then to bring it to 5-round fights as well, that style, that's going to be an issue. That really is going to be an issue here. So I'm really interested to see what adjustments he makes coming into this fight for his own style, never mind the style of Riddell. But if he can make those adjustments, I think he'll be very good. But also, like, there is that mental side of it as well, that when you kind of tire in a fight like that and you struggle towards the end, okay, you do get through it and that'll bring you on. But you also, is there going to be something in the back of his head thinking, what if I'm winning the first 2 rounds here again and Riddell isn't going anywhere and the pace is still going strong? Like, am I going to wilt again? You know, and that's a very, very big mental thing to get over. And maybe he has already, and maybe it won't be a factor at all. And, you know, come Sunday when we're talking about it on the podcast, you know, we probably won't even mention it. But maybe it will be a huge factor. Like, it could be an absolute huge factor in this fight. But yeah, and from Riddell's side, then I think that's kind of his best chance. I would try to weather that storm early. I would try to avoid those body kicks as much as I can. And as we talked about with Aldo the last time, throw in a takedown or two. You know, if he throws a body kick at you and he lands it, catch that fucking thing and put him on his arse and leave him there. Put him against the cage and take a bit of that cardio away from him as well and play that sort of game. If I was Riddell, but he can try his own strikes as well. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, look, it's a good fight, a fun fight. I'm definitely picking Fizzyev to win here. I think he'll probably win the decision. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, just a few quick thoughts from you, Seán Denny, before we move on to the next one.
Yeah, the one little wrinkle that intrigues me about this fight is how well do they know each other in the past? Like, both lads have done a lot of training in Thailand. Like, have they crossed paths a lot before? Does John Hutchinson have a few secrets there on Brad Riddell? That's going to sway this fight. Like, I think that's where it's going to be won or lost, in my opinion. I think the sort of knowledge from outside of the MMA sphere might be where this is won or lost. But for me, Fizzjev's meanness is going to put him slightly over the edge, but he takes risks, and that's dangerous in a stand-up battle.
Yeah, it definitely is. Like, I mean, this is the type of fight that you want to see in a co-main event. You know, you have Riddell coming in on a 7-fight win streak. Fizzyev himself is coming in on a 4-fight win streak. The two of them are at the highest level of their games right now, and it's all on the line. Like, the winner of this is going to be propelled into the top 10, so it's going to be a sensational fight. And I agree with what everybody has said. I mean, with the power that both of these guys possess, I mean, one wrong move could end this fight at any moment, and that's what could happen. I mean, after that being said, it'll probably go to a decision, but whatever. Let's move on to Jimmy Crute and Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill is coming back here after getting his arm broken from Paul Craig. It was a nasty arm injury. This is his first fight back. I know you spoke with him before, Andy Stevenson. What do you think? Do you think he's going to come back here and want to be looking to make a statement in this fight? Try and get Jimmy Crute is a tough guy. If he could get him out of there, I mean, he'd be back on the horse again in the light heavyweight division.
100%. I don't understand this matchmaking whatsoever, if I'm honest. Like you've got two guys who've just come off kind of brutal the submission was obviously, it was fair enough. It was a submission and completely legal and all that, and the same with Crute. But like, Crute's last fight was against Anthony Smith, where he had that where his leg was all fucked up and his ankle or whatever it was, and they're both coming back, and like both were kind of on this trajectory where, you know, they're the kind of the next rising stars, not stars, but, you know, prospects in the division. Like Jamal Hill looked great. I thought in his last couple of fights he had, you know, kind of a rough start into the UFC with that Darko Stosic fight, where Stosic just really didn't want to engage at all. It was a very strange fight. But then he put on two fantastic performances against Klidson Abreu and Ovince St. Preux, and I think it's a fantastic fight as a matchup. Like, Crute has shown. Crute kind of reminds me of Paul Redmond in a way, where, you know, just kind of walk forward, very well rounded, and, you know, he's not elite anywhere, but he puts it all together very, very well. And Crute also 205 pounds. He's got dynamite in his hands as well when he needs it. That knockout of I'm forgetting his name now, the British fighter. That's gonna wreck my head. He got cut from the UFC.
Jimmy Manoa?
No, Bukowskis. That's the one. Bukowskis. That was terrifying. And I think that Hill is a fantastic striker as well. So I'm really looking forward to this one. But I just don't really get it when they're both coming off a loss, both coming off kind of nasty injuries, and then to be paired together. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Am I still here?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Andy. Sorry, I got distracted there. Yeah, I think that's going to be a great fight too. I can kind of see what you're saying with the matchups. I mean, but there's been time and time again, and we keep talking about it every time and time again, that the matchups sometimes are strange in the UFC right now. They don't seem to be looking to want to build too many prospects. They want to kind of create this kind of dog eat dog kind of environment in the UFC, and it's either sink or swim. But we'll move right along to. I just want to know, how the fuck is Clay Guida still fighting on a main card in 2021 inside the UFC? You have to give him credit for that. I mean, the man has been belching his way to decision wins for the last couple of years. Sean, Denny, you've probably seen a good gulp of Clay Guida's career. You have to give the man some sort of credits to be still there and to be still competing at the highest level at this stage in his career.
You do indeed. He's the younger man going into this at 39 years young. So it's interesting. They found someone older than him to fight, but he's all action. I hope he puts in a bit of his old style capoeira for a bit of fun, but it's a very tough matchup in this one. I think Leonardo Silva is probably going to be too much for him. Like, at best, Clay Guida nowadays is sort of a 50-50 fighter, probably maybe a 30% win chance. But I think in this one, he's going to have too much to handle. it's going to be a tough night. But if Clay Guida does what Clay Guida does, it's going to be a lot of movement. It's going to be very grindy, and it'll be 15 minutes of just him just moving like a madman, causing issues.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ, from his walkouts and his carry on before the fight even starts, I'd be bet before I even throw a punch if I was Clay Guida. What do you like? I mean, this fight is what it is. I mean, it doesn't really get me excited at all. It's probably going to be a decision, either one way or another. Is that the way you kind of see this fight going, Seán Sheehan?
Yeah, I couldn't give a shit about this fight, to be honest. On Jamal Hill, though, I just want to mention that quickly. Like, I'm not writing Jamal Hill off yet. I still think he's a top prospect. I still think he has championship credentials. You know, I said it, like, I tweeted directly before his Paul Craig fight, before he got his fucking arm snapped about 90 seconds later, and I look like an idiot. But I'm sticking fucking by it. I still think Jamal Hill is going to be a really, really good fighter. And I like Jimmy Crute as well. And Jimmy Crute could win at the weekend. But do you know what? I'm still going to stick by him. I think Jamal Hill has the potential to be a very, very... I'm going to go full Harry Redknapp here, talking about or talking about Frank Lampard. It's like, he's going to go right to the top, right to the very, very top. And that's what armbar!
Give it to us.
Jimmy Crute doesn't mean Kimura. So Jimmy... So, like, the broken arm might be on the table there.
He's not Paul Craig, though.
No, he Kimura'd Paul Craig.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He's got the best base for MMA as well, the El Mullet.
Oh, I thought you were going to say jiu-jitsu. I was like...
So that could sway it.
It could.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I would, going back a little bit to Jamal Hill as well. I wouldn't completely rule him out at all. I mean, he's 8-1. He's 30 years of age. He has plenty of time to get himself back into the mix there in the light heavyweight division. Like, I mean, it's not killer's row or anything there at 205. And I think
look at Jan Blachowicz even became champion. Like, anyone could win that fucking battle.
Shots fired.
Sean Denny has left the chat. Jamal Hill will have a chip on his shoulder as well. Like, I remember speaking to him, and he's quite he seems very intimidating. I was very intimidated anyway, and he just kind of seems angry. And I remember, like, I think I put a point to him about the commentary in his first fight about, you know, his strike and defense, and he didn't take that kindly at all. So I think, you know, coming off a loss, he'll be looking to make a statement here tomorrow night, and I expect them to throw hell for leather at each other.
Yep, he certainly does have a cool voice. I think that's fair. And it's a tough fight for him. I mean, it's a tough one to come back to against a tough man like Jimmy Crute. I mean, it's going to be interesting. But we move on down a little bit more into the main card again, onto Brendan Allen versus Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis is coming in after absolutely devastating Phil Hawes in his last fight. That was, like, I mean, everyone was talking about Phil Hawes coming into that fight for his power and his finishing ability, and he was on the receiving end of a knockout instead. So, I mean, Chris Curtis really impressed me in that and showcased that he has some good power there. But he's coming in against Brendan Allen, who's on a 2-fight win streak himself. His last loss was against Sean Strickland, which, you know, it's just fair enough. Sean Strickland has been doing quite well. How do you see Brendan Allen coming into this fight, Seán Sheehan, and how do you see this fight going overall?
Just before that, did Sean Strickland murder anyone yet, or is he okay? No.
Him and John Jones would be a good crack in the night out, wouldn't they?
Sean Strickland is going to be on like season 3 of Mindhunter on Netflix or something like that for after he serial kills a bunch
be on
of people.
Fucking season 3 of Tiger King, more like.
Time watch, yeah. Fucking John Jones and Sean Strickland night out. It'd be like the fucking Purge or something. Jesus Christ. But look, I like this Allen versus Curtis fight. There's the 3 kind of standout ones for me on this is that fight, but I think Zamagula versus Cape too. That, like, I know you briefly mentioned it earlier on, but Cape is a big favorite in that, I think. But Alex Morona versus Mickey Gall, I think, is the standout one for me. Like, that's a hard fight to pick in terms of, like, it feels like they've given a few fighters now Alex Morona to kind of build the name off of, and it hasn't worked for any of them yet. And that's going to be an issue because, like, how can he keep beating these guys and going kind of nowhere, going back to like another prospect? And I feel like if he beats Mickey Gall here, you know,
winner gets Ian Gary.
winner gets in. I know I don't like that, but geez, I wouldn't give Ian Gary, Alex Morono yet. I would give him Mickey Gall in fairness, but maybe if Mickey Gall loses here, it might be better. But
I think this is a horrible matchup for Mickey Gall, being honest. I mean,
I think Morono wins. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think Morono wins anyway. Not necessarily any way he wants, but I can't see him being in too much trouble in the striking department. And I think he's just a stronger grappler than Mickey Gall as well. And I just think it's a very strange matchup for someone like Mickey Gall, who, obviously he took his defeat and he's been slowly trying to build himself back. And I don't think he's at the stage right now where he should be going in there and fighting someone like Alex Morono, who's vastly experienced, who's been in the UFC for a long time. And we have first-hand experience and seeing how good he is, like going in and beating Reese McKee and others like it. He destroyed Cowboy Cerrone as well. So, I mean, what do you think of this fight for Mickey Gall, Andy Stevenson overall? I personally think it's a very, very tough fight for him.
Yeah, I think it's a very tough matchup for him, and like you kind of wonder, like, are the UFC just being like, right, we've had enough of the Mickey Gall experiment and time to move on, so we'll just kind of give him some awkward matchups and send him on his way. Like, I don't really, Mickey Gall was this kind of name at one point. Does he still have value? Maybe, but like I don't really know what to think of Mickey Gall. Like, what I'd like to see Mickey Gall fighting on say Cage Warriors or something like that, to be honest with you, to see, to get an actual assessment of where he is as a fighter, because I've no idea how to rate him. I don't think he's particularly great, but I don't think he's terrible. And I think that Alex Morono is vastly, well, it's not a question, he's vastly more experienced, and I agree with pretty much everything that's already been said here. I think he'll probably win, and then Mickey Gall will be 7-4 or something at that point, and like God knows what's next from then.
Yeah, 100%. How do you see this one going? Do you give any chance to Mickey Gall at all, Sean Denny?
What worries me about Mickey Gall is that CM Punk fight was in 2016, and he's barely progressed since then. I think he's 7-2 in the UFC, so that's 9 fights in 5 years. Like, he just hasn't progressed quick enough, I think, to be jumping into these fights. I think Morono's going to eat him alive here.
And look where CM Punk is now, headlining AEW cards and all. Let him.
He got that
Mickey Gall starter maker.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
I mean, we'll move on down to, there's only a couple of fights that I really want to talk about on the prelims. I just want to quickly mention the prelims headliner, and that's Maki Pitolo versus Dusko Todorovic. Pitolo is on a 3-fight losing streak, and Todorovic is on a 2-fight losing streak. So I don't know whether the UFC are just planning that these two boys are going to go in and beat the shit out of each other to save their jobs to headline this prelims, or what's going on at that fight. But that's a really strange fight to have on the prelims headliner. And that's all I have to say on that fight anyway, to be honest. We'll move on down to Manuel Cape, former Ryzen champion. He was highly touted before coming into the UFC. I was excited to see his debut. Didn't really have the best of starts. He's had a couple of losses, a couple of weight misses as well. I believe he made weight today, did he? I'm not too sure. I haven't seen the weigh-in results. So let's hope, for the sake of the conversation, we'll say he made weight today. So the last fight he fought in he produced a sensational flying knee knockout over Ode Osborne. He comes in against Glias Zamagulov in this fight. I'll go to Sean Denny first. What do you think of Manuel Cape?
He did make weight.
He did make weight. Lovely. Well, that's good for him, because, I mean, another weight miss there, and then he probably would have been either forced to move up or shown the door, to be honest. So we go back to Sean Denny. What's your thoughts on this fight? You mentioned Zamagulov already, Sean.
Yeah, it's if you look at talent like Cap, like he's got a bit of flair and he can pull something out of a bag that nobody else can do. But like, I think where he might struggle here is Zamagulov is just, he's all action. Like he smothers you. So I don't know where he's going. Like, if Zumagulov's going to do well, I think he's going to have to close down the space and just make it a dirty fight. If he doesn't give Cap the space to sort of do some of his fancier stuff, we've seen Cap since he's come into the UFC, he's been a bit gun shy and he struggled to get going. So I think like Cap has to start quick. He has to be aggressive, but Zumagulov has the potential just to snuff him out pretty quickly.
it's a classic striker versus grappler kind of a matchup here, and I think with Cape, I don't know, he was fighting at 135 pounds, I believe, in Rising and making the move down to 125 pounds. Maybe it took some time for him to kind of adjust to that weight. What do you think of Manuel Cape as a fighter, Seán Sheehan? I mean, would you give any great hope of him making a run maybe for a title in the flyweight division?
I don't know. Does he take it seriously enough? Like when you're talking about a guy, and the main part about him is his weight misses. That's never a good sign, you know. So yeah, I don't, to be honest. But I think he's a good enough fighter. I think he's a very, very good fighter. But no, I don't think he's ever getting to that level, to be honest.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that too. But you know, he definitely has the abilities, I think, to kind of get himself maybe into the mix, but maybe not so much win himself a title. And that's a kind of a hot pot at the top of that division right now. Do you have any thoughts on this fight, Andy Stevenson?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I think when it comes to Manuel Cape, he kind of gets lost in his own allure as far as being this, you know, highlight reel striker and very, you know, extravagant techniques and things like that. And I think it was his UFC debut. I remember just watching the fight, just looking at it, being like, this lad seems to be more concerned with looking good fighting and what he's throwing than actually landing the strikes and implementing his technique and his will and all the rest. And that's not, like, you know, when it works, yeah, it works great, but when it doesn't work, you're fucked. So to Sean's point about, you know, does he take it seriously enough? Does he actually take winning fights seriously enough rather than just looking good while fighting?
That's a good point as well. Like, there that comes in, like, Zumagulov is no joke, and Cape is a big favorite here. Like, I was talking about that in the betting show as well. Like, if you were to have a sneaky outside bet here, I think Zumagulov, you know, Zumagulov is a very, very good one, you know. So
yeah, like I think he definitely is a good one. Like, he definitely has the style to come in against the flashy striker like Cape and make it a dirty and a gritty fight. Use his grappling, and you know, we've kind of seen Cape kind of fade in fights before as well. So I mean, yeah, I'd be definitely, as an underdog there, Zamigulov is definitely one to look out for in this. And you know, we talked about Cape. His debut in the UFC was against that of Alejandro Pantoja, I think, wasn't it? So that was a tough. Yeah, that was he fought Pantoja in his debut, so that was a tough way to kind of make your mark inside the UFC. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that fight anyway, and it'll be a good stylistic matchup if nothing else.
what about Pettis versus Saraguchi? What do you think you win that tonight?
Oh, that is a belter of a fight. I'm just so happy that the fucking didn't put this on the same night as UFC for once. I'm glad that we'll get to watch it without any distractions tonight. I think Gooch is one of the most underrated fighters on the planet right now. I think he still should be fighting inside the UFC, and I think that Anthony Pettis has a real tough task ahead of him tonight.
I think Sergio's a tough task
Sergio
too.
too.
Yeah. Sergio's better than him, though. Sergio is better than him. I think it's a fun fight. Like, Sergio, when I was talking to Sergio the other day, he was talking about like going forward and meeting Horiguchi in the center of the cage, and it was one of those ones where I didn't even ask him that question and he said it anyway, so it's obviously something that, like, he had planned to kind of say it to everyone. And that's interesting, because you don't usually get, like, someone saying that, you know, talking about their tactics, what they're going to do in a fight, and I feel like it's something that he's trying to maybe convince to himself that he can do. I don't know. I just don't think he can. I think he'd be better off waiting for Horiguchi to come forward, try to counter him and light him up with counters. Because, like, Sergio has more power maybe than he's given credit for, if he, you know, in that realm anyway, and he's countering. And you know, I don't think Duke Rufus is the best trainer in the world, to be honest. I don't think he ever comes out with the best game plans in the world. Look at Anthony Pettis. Spent half his fucking career backing himself up onto the cage, getting taken down. So yeah, I wouldn't be that awful. But Sergio is a way better fighter than Anthony, and I would have more hope for him. I think it'll be a fun fight, but I'm definitely picking Horiguchi.
Yeah, I think, like, it's interesting, and it makes the fight more interesting, because what we've seen lately with Sergio is a fighter that has vastly improved as each of these fights have gone on. Like, he definitely deserves to be the champion there in Bellator. But when you're talking about Horiguchi, if you're talking about levels, Horiguchi is at the elite level and has been for such a long time. You know, he was at the height of his game, double champion before he got that ACL injury, and you know, he's showed the perseverance to kind of come back from that injury to pick up the Rising belt, and he has that around his waist again. And now he's going to pick up the Bellator belt, which both belts, which he had to kind of vacate when he was injured. So, I mean, I really think that this is a fantastic fight. Andy, how do you see the fight going?
Yeah, it's hard to pick against Horiguchi. I think Pettis has looked fantastic since he's joined Bellator. Like, I've been really impressed by the kind of the strides he's made. But I'd be picking Horiguchi, to be honest.
Sean, Denny?
Yeah, I'm picking Horiguchi as well. Like, the standard of his opponent, like, he's beaten Neil Seery, for example. Like, if you can beat Neil Seery, you can do anything. But he's got Mike Brown in his corner as well. Just a fantastic coach. He'll probably have Pettis sussed. I think they'll know exactly how Pettis is going to play, and I think they'll just counter it. And just one last thing, shout out to the Central European fans. We've got 2 4 a.m. cards now, main cards in a row coming up the next 2 nights.
Oh, I just want to say Bellator starts for me at around, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening. And UFC tomorrow night in around the same time as well. I'll be nice and relaxed watching it there. The guy.
This live MMA is vastly overrated. That's a go to bed and watch in the morning.
European MMA fans are going to be put to the test with that Bellator card tonight anyway, I tell you, because apart from the main event,
rubbish.
It is not good. It is not good. At least the UFC card has a couple of decent fights tomorrow night anyway. On the prelims, there's a couple of fights to talk about. Like, that last UFC card was god awful, and we deserve
for next week's UFC card. Myself and Graham did a bit of the podcast there earlier. What a fucking card that is! You know, Amanda Nunes, Pena, Oliveira, Poirier, Dominic Cruz against Pedro Munoz, Garbrandt, Kai Kara France. It's unreal.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I can't wait to come here. We'll be here again next week to break down that card before it happens as well.
One random question: who do you reckon will step in, or do you reckon anyone will step in for Ponzinibbio or to face Ponzinibbio?
Did Jeff Neal get taken out of the fight?
He's not out of the fight.
Assuming. He's not out of the fight.
No.
It was one of those things, though. I feel like where it's a misdemeanor drunk drive. Like, he might have had 1 point after fucking Thanksgiving, or maybe I didn't read it right. But is
25 points later?
Sure. Look, we all know, everyone has a gun in America, sure. What?
Yeah.
They all have them. But yeah,
it'll be grand. Just give him an orange fight kit, and we'll be fine.
Give him
I don't know what you have to do to kind of
send him back out. That's the way that they do it in Ireland. If you're drunk driving, just fill you full of fucking potassium and send you back out on the road. You'll be grand. They don't carry. They don't carry. I'll tell you. Sean Dini knows all about that.
Wolf will carry on. He's not saying anything. No comment. He'll neither confirm or deny that statement.
Yeah.
Sure, look.
God bless Jan Blachowicz.
He's fighting Rakic, isn't he?
That's right.
Not confirmed, but he's preparing for him anyway.
Makes no sense, that fight.
And just breaking news.
He jumped at it.
Breaking news that kind of happened there before. I think Thomas commented on it earlier on. It was that Jake Hadley has been announced to fight Davison Figueiredo's younger brother, Francisco Figueiredo. And that's scheduled for March 19th. So that's another potentially great fight for the UFC London card if it does go down. That's a great fight. I mean, it'll be a good test now for Hadley. I think a decent test, but a winnable fight.
Yeah, I think it's we talked about it before, myself and you, Ian, I think maybe about like how Hadley will be getting tough matchups now because of the way he kind of entered the UFC and because they were talking about him as a shite hawk and stuff like that. And I think I think small Figgy Schmalls, as people decide to call him, is not a bad fighter at all, and I think he's improved as well. I think it's a tough matchup, but I think Hadley will have enough for him. And that London card, it's weird. Jake put up the thing of about 30 different English fighters who are going to be on UFC London. I'm like, well, it's going to be a long fucking card. So, but I just hope they don't shite it up, and also I hope the Rona doesn't go fucking mad and we can actually have a card, which I feel like might be a biggish issue. But anyway,
yeah,
I feel like they've been planning a London card for about 2 years now.
About 5 years,
since March, since Leon Edwards versus Tyron Woodley. How long ago does that seem? That was the last card that was supposed to go down. It all went belly up. Then after that, it was crazy. Maybe before we go, maybe we'll get everybody's thoughts on. I know Charlie has mentioned in the comment section there about Kevin Lee. That news broke yesterday that he has been let go from the UFC. He's now a free agent. timing was surprising to me. We've seen this time and time again. We get hit with odd UFC kind of fighters getting let go at strange times. I remember way back in the day there was a big hullabaloo about John Finch. I remember Yushin Okami at one time got let go, and and now Kevin Lee is kind of at a stage where I don't know. It's a strange one.
I think it's the perfect time to cut him. Just failed the drugs test, has proven he'll never be a top fighter, always injured. Get fucking rid. I think they're dead right. I don't think Kevin Lee is UFC championship caliber. I think he's too much of a problem. He's always talking shit about him. If I was the UFC, like look at it from the UFC's point of view, absolutely get rid of him. Like I was talking to Spencer Kite about it, and we were going to talk about it in a future podcast as well. But like, I don't understand this righteous indignation about him. Like the time with Fitch and the time with Okami, they basically got cut because they were boring. You know, both of them were right up there as like top fighters in the world still at the time. You know, thereabouts. Kevin Lee, it's like there's so much going against him. And I know the drugs test is it was medicine and things like that, but I don't know, it's hard to know exactly.
It was pretty
what
ridiculous.
To
I think it was Adderall that he popped for kind of ADHD.
Lance Armstrong popped for fucking water as well. You know, like that can happen as well. You know, but I completely understand it. I think the UFC are right to do it. To be honest, get rid of him.
That's a fair statement. I mean, it surprised me, but I mean, we're going to see it happening again to other fighters. And right, we discussed him leaving. Where do you think he goes to next, Andy Stevenson?
I think he's a lot of options. I disagree completely with everything Seán Sheehan just said, and I think it's a disgrace.
Sheep. I'm going out protesting Kevin Lee getting fucking cut.
Nah, the UFC are pricks, and I'll always stand by that.
I'll agree with that now, in fairness. I want to disagree with you there. Go on, you.
Look, if you want to cut him, fair enough. Like, it's their right to cut him, but the way they did it and the way they deal with all their fighters is just a joke. Like, the same way Jermaine Durandamy found out she was stripped from the title on social media. Kevin Lee gets an email to say, "Oh, see you later." Not even from a matchmaker or anyone. He has to track down Hunter Campbell's phone number to give him a piece of his mind. It's just a joke the way they treat fighters. But I think he's going to have his pick of the litter. I think, Kevin Lee, we've been waiting for him to do something, as in make a push for contendership. I realize he's fought for a title, but to truly make a push for, to show that he's worthy of contending for titles. He hasn't done it. There's been long talks about, 165 division, that's never happening. So he was kind of in no man's land anyway, but I do think he has name value. I think whether it's for him to become a champion elsewhere, maybe not. Whether it's to stick him in as a name that will draw interest from the fans against another fighter. I saw that both, I think yourself, Sean, and another Irish journalist, Pete Carroll, both called for Kevin Lee versus MVP, if I'm not mistaken. So there's matchups out there for him. I don't, maybe PFL, but like, Jesus, you go into PFL and you could get ragdolled by a couple of Russians and get nowhere near $1 million.
I just want to see MVP fighting another can, let's be honest.
Oh, I'd be kind of leaning towards Kevin Lee.
I don't know why I've gone anti-Kevin Lee here. I don't know.
What the fuck?
What the fuck did he do to you?
Kevin Lee shit on your cornflakes or something like that. What's going on, man?
Kevin Lee in the PFL, like PFL next year need to fucking this welterweight tournament. Imagine what it could be. Ray Cooper, Magomed Karam, I've heard the fuck his name is. Rory McDonald, put Pettis up there. Have Kevin Lee. Miles Price might be in there. They could have an unreal fucking welterweight tournament next year. Let's get that fucking going, lads. Come on.
Yeah, and I think like that being said about Kevin Lee, he's after overcoming like a lot of mental difficulties after the passing away of his coach, Robert Follis, as well. That must have been difficult for him. But like, you have to admit though, we did see glimmers of him fighting at the highest level in the UFC, which got him to a title shot. I mean, if he can find that old form again, I think he can make a little bit of noise in either the PFL or in Bellator. But I mean,
he'll be winning a belt. He'll be winning a belt, beating fucking Mike Perry in a Toblerone next year.
There you go. He'll be in the triads. He'll be in the triad,
like
the triad combat ring. as the co-main event to Shannon Briggs and fucking Rampage Jackson there in March.
Let's
or
go,
something
champ.
Let's go,
Let's
champ.
go, champ.
Let's go, champ.
Let's go, champ.
Oh my God. I can't wait. I'm going to talk with Sean about that triad boxing on the next Jason Pack. I can't wait.
Was it boxing or was it MMA? What was
oh,
it? I didn't see any of it.
It was like boxing with clinching, and you could like clinch for a few minutes. You can grab by the back of the head and punch. You can underhook or you can overhook. And once you're in the clinch, you have to punch at all times. And the minute you stop, strangely enough, the minute you stop punching, you'll get separated. It's weird.
A lot of shit.
It's a weird setup.
We better go to bed.
Yeah, we're just hitting the hour here. Thanks everybody for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to this card. 15 fights. Did anyone fights drop off today? Did we lose anything from the weigh-ins? I didn't really get a chance
Hopefully.
to see it.
There's still time. There's still time for
Yeah.
this to be a 12-fight card.
There's 14 on Tapology at the moment.
Right,
so
it was 15 yesterday, so that means we lost one fight today.
It was 15 about an hour ago.
Who did we lose? Let's check it here.
Please let it be Martin versus Bliss.
Jared Van Der Aa versus Amazak Murzakhanov. I shouldn't have bothered.
the Russian.
I was looking forward to that one.
Yeah,
that was going to be two big heavyweights slapping meat.
I mightn't bother tuning in at all now. That fight is gone.
Okay, no. What's the point?
All right, lads. We'll wrap her up here now. Anyway, but thanks for everyone for watching, for listening, and thanks to the lads for joining me today. Sean and Graham will be back on Sunday with the main podcast.
Sunday.
Sunday,
or
yeah, I
maybe
keep getting
Monday.
mixed up. Normally we record these on the day off. Before we let you go, I just want you to remind everybody about our sponsors for the stream. You can see the bar going across the bottom. EatAllReal.com, the best protein bars on the market. Irish run company by our good friend Niall. And head on over there to EatAllReal.com. Put in the severe
That's a really
MMA
struggling
code.
to do this finger thing.
Yeah, and you're just put in the code word severe MMA. Get yourself 15% off. I'm going to be ordering some. I'm due to arrive home pretty soon. I'm ordering some in the post. Can't wait to try them out. All the guys on the Twitter group are going head over heels about the taste of these protein bars. They're the best on the market. Go out there, get yourself some. EatAllReal.com. Go and follow Andy Stevenson at Andy Stevenson 123 at Seán Sheehan. BA. I always get these wrong. Did I get you on right, Andy? Andy Steve 123.
No.
There you go. That's
Yeah. There we go.
Andy Steve 123 and Sean at Denny Rants. And don't bother following me at I O'Neill MMA.
Don't be stealing my phrase. Fuck's sake. That's mine. Prick. I liked you. Go on.
All right, take it handy. Thanks everybody for watching. Enjoy the fights tomorrow night. We got a belter of a main event. I mean, Jose Aldo. I had a great line in my preview, and I leave everybody with this: is like, can Aldo erase the font? That's it. Goodbye. Good luck. Enjoy the fights.